The special commitments are, each one has like something you accept for the, you probably heard all this before, but for the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. So for the Buddha, it's you think that all, statues and images are actually the Buddha, and you treat them with respect. And then the other one is you don't take refuge in anything other than Buddha. And that's something to think about, because we have to think about other things we take refuge in. And I think we have to be a little bit easy on ourselves, because, when we need to talk about our problems with a girlfriend or boyfriend or something, it doesn't mean we're abandoning our refuge in the Buddha. It just means that we need some help, or I don't think going to a psychotherapist means you don't have refuge in Buddha, But I think, if you end up like having problems and you decide to just drink them away, that's a problem. You're taking refuge in alcohol, And I think a lot of us, if we really check, who do we think about more, our guru or our spouse? That's a tough one, In the bardo, who are you going to call out to, your spouse or the guru? Right? Yeah, because the habit is more the person that you spend your life with, I think that's why it's like easier to be ordained and single. It's like you don't have the habit of taking refuge in your partner. So I'm not saying you shouldn't have a partner, but it's just something to think about, when you're having a problem, or like, who makes you feel safe? Is it the partner that makes you feel safe? Is it having the partner that makes you feel safe? Or is it the guru that makes you feel safe? Right? I mean, they can both make you feel safe. I mean, relatively speaking, the partner helps you, but ultimately, deeper, I think it has to be the guru. And even more so, when we're talking about it's got to be the inner guru. Because when those of you who've been divorced or lost a partner, you realize it's quite devastating when you do that. And it's because if we really had deep refuge, it wouldn't be a problem. We'd be happy when the partner finds somebody they like better. Because then we would have refuge, and it wouldn't be a problem. Because our hearts are filled with the guru, not that person. So that's why, worldly refuges don't really help when it comes to the crunch, because they're not dependable. Karma changes, karma shifts. There's nothing you can do when the karma changes. But if you really develop a deep refuge, then things can change, and it's okay, because your real security blanket is your refuge, not that person. That's hard, because our habit is always to be that person, and it's really, it's just habits, isn't it? We have a habit of turning to that person. So it's really good if we can get in the habit of developing our inner protection, the inner love, that the experience of fulfillment and love comes from myself, not that partner. Because in actual fact it does, but it arises in dependence upon that partner. The partner is the cooperative condition for us to feel protected. But it's better to make that your refuge, if you can. It's just something to think about. Right? And then the commitment with the Dharma jewel is to never harm a sentient being. So, however, I will say this. One time I was at the temple in Dharamsala. His Holiness was giving teachings, and he was giving a teaching on the 10 virtues and the 10 non-virtues, And when he got to killing, he said, sometimes we have to kill. He said, sometimes, because Dharamsala has a plague of bed bugs, you know. He said, if your house is full of bed bugs, sometimes you have to kill them. You know, if your house is full of termites, sometimes you have to kill them. And I've even been with His Holiness when he's sitting there and he goes, okay, mosquito coming. First time, okay. Second time, bzzz. Okay. Third time. Okay. Fourth time. He said, even I can't, you know, sometimes, you know, His Holiness said, even sometimes you just can't, you know. That wasn't that long ago either. And it was on YouTube? Really? Oh. Yeah. Who? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mosquitoes bite him
Yeah.
every place.
Yeah.
And I look for alternatives, but mosquitoes are very persistent.
Yeah.
So he got hemorrhagic dengue.
Wow.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah.
So now say you have to learn. I mean, you have
Yeah.
to look for alternatives or not always.
Couldn't you put mosquito repellent on him?
Oh, I try everything with him.
You know what he
And I
needs?
put him in a little machine that
Mhm.
everything.
Even the chemicals don't keep the mosquitoes off?
Oh, he don't like the chemicals.
No, you can get natural ones.
Yeah.
You can get really good natural mosquito repellent now.
Okay, but now he's sometimes.
Yeah, but no, you should get him the good stuff. You know, you can go online and get things that don't have any poison in them. Like there's the one I use is made by Badger Balm. And it works, you know. Because it is better not to kill mosquitoes. And get him a mosquito net. Yeah. But what I tell you, you know, if you take a lot of vitamin B, and a lot of vitamin B12, he's deficient in B12. Because when you take a lot of B12, mosquitoes don't like your blood anymore. And basil too, huh? Eat basil. Yeah. Yeah. Neem. Yeah. 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 She's saying put garlic in the dog food. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It helped, huh? No, but it just means they're deficient in vitamins. Yeah. Yeah. So, but, however, Lama Zopa says, you know, if you don't purify killing a mosquito, in 24 hours it's the same karma as killing a human being. So if you do have to kill the animal, you know, kill the insects, you have to make sure you say Vajrasattva mantras, you know. Or if you, and then the same time when His Holiness was talking about killing the insects in the house, he said you should do a puja for all the insects before, you know. Wait, you need the... Oh, I heard about that one. You went to that? The bed bugs. The one in Portland.
We had a short retreat, you know, the one that deals with the destruction.
Yeah.
And we got bed bugs.
You have to hold it close.
Bed bugs. Horrible. There was
Yeah.
an article on the magazine.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean...
And people, my friend Steve Ginsburg, who went to that, he came
See,
home and he
Steve.
brought them home with him, and his whole house was infested.
Oh, we left everything there,
Yeah.
and I had asthma attacks. I got so beaten up that
Yeah.
me and a nun from Australia, and then we made a
You
puya.
have to put it right close.
We Rinpoche made a puya afterwards because
Yeah.
all the cushions got
Yeah.
the bed bug.
Yeah. No, in Portland, there's like an epidemic of bed bugs in hotels. Yeah. Yeah, because they get in your clothes. Like my friend Steve, he spent hundreds of dollars trying to get it out of his house. He was so angry at FPMT because they didn't even tell him. He didn't even know what it was for a long time, you know. So I don't know how he didn't know. Yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I've had them in Dharamsala. Yeah, I got really sick in Dharamsala. And you know, it was interesting because it was that time when they were in my room in Dharamsala, I was getting really sick, that His Holiness said, sometimes you have to, and I had to tell the hotel to come in and do, you know, get the bed because I couldn't stay there. I was getting really ill. So anyway, killing. Oh, Rinpoche said that if you don't purify it, within 24 hours, it's the same karma as killing a human being. So, you know, if you do have to kill, you have to remember to purify. And if you can, like blow on the insects, like I was telling them, Milarepa said that if you blow Milarepa's mantra on even the bones of a dead being, that they'll go to Milarepa's Pure Land. So if you eat meat, it's really good to do that. And if you want to know the mantra, it's Om Guru Hasa Vajra, so it's H-A-S-A, Hasa Vajra Sarva Siddhi Pala Hung. So it's Oma Guru Hasavadra Sarasiti Palahum. Oma Guru Hasavadra Sarasiti Palahum. Some Sarvasiddhi Palahum. And some people do it Oma Vajra Guru Hasavadra Sarasiti Palahum. And some it's Om A Guru Hasavadra Sarasiti Palahum. So that helps, you know, with eating meat or killing insects, or if you see an insect on the street dead, or you see a dead animal, or, you know, especially if, like a road by the side of the road, someone was hit by a car, you know, it's really good to know Milarepa's mantra. And then the sangha is to, you have to abandon the non-virtuous influence of some of your friends. You don't have to abandon your friends, but you know how sometimes it's really difficult when people meet the Dharma, suddenly like they're old friends, they can't, it's kind of difficult to go to a party and get drunk anymore. You just don't want to, you know. And I mean, sometimes people just stop associating with them, but it's not saying you shouldn't associate with them, but just don't let them influence you. But if you can't be around them without the influence, then it's better not to be around them, you know. So, yeah. So that was the specific commitments, and there's general commitments. Is to, the first one is to remember the qualities of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and if you include the Guru, like all the, you know, as much as you can, remember the good, you know, the benefits of, you know, like what I get from taking refuge, you know. So as much as you can, you know, it's good to remember emptiness and bodhicitta and death and impermanence, and, you know, and Lama Zopa talks a lot about abandoning the 8 worldly concerns. So then, number 2 is every time you eat something, offer the first bite to the Guru or to the Triple Gem, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and remember their kindness. right? And if you're a Vajrayana practitioner, you know, every time you chew your food, you can imagine the Guru is at your heart, and you're just bliss is going to the Guru in your heart, you know. So the next one, third one, is encourage others to take refuge. But not like proselytizing, you know, not being an evangelist, but maybe by giving a good example or with compassion, encourage others. Yeah, you need the...
If you have a Christian friend,
Yeah.
like,
You just have to hold it very close.
most of my friends are not Buddhist, I mean,
Yeah.
except the Sangha.
Yeah.
But can you talk to them about refuge? They can do it with Jesus Christ. It's
Yeah,
the
well,
same
they are,
thing, right?
Christians have refuge in Christ, so
But explain the concept, the way Buddhism explains the
if they're open to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think, I mean, don't they have their own form of refuge? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
who are following the path to become better person. That's why they go to the temples and their churches, and the Sangha is the people that are in the path looking to be a better person, not necessarily to be there, you know, to chat or to make friends, but to really encourage themselves to transform. You see? So it's the same thing. They have the Sangha, whoever is in the path to become a better person.
Mm-hmm.
And the teachings are those guidance that they receive in order to become better persons. And the Sangha are all the friends that are in the same path. And Jesus Christ is
The
like
teacher.
that example of a person who got enlightened.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's more or less a little
Yeah.
bit
It is the same. And sometimes, you know, I have to say that the example of Jesus is so incredible, you know. Yeah, I mean, we didn't see Buddha on the cross, you know. I mean, I'm not putting Buddha down or anything, but it's different. People need different things. And I think that those people needed something very, very extreme, you know. Whereas I think in the Buddha's days, people were a little more sophisticated and a little more able to just get the teaching by listening. But the people in the Middle East were so kind of gross, you know. Huh? Yeah, tough. That it had to be a very, yeah, yeah, a very strong example, you know.
Why in Buddhism it says that we are in the degenerate times when in the past humans have done
We've been in the degenerate times for a long time. Yeah. I mean, I think it's because time, you know, we have no concept time, countless great eons. You know, just 2,000 years is a finger snap in relation to the universe, you know. So it's been degenerate times for a long time, but it's definitely getting more degenerate, I think, you know. I don't know, I think it's always been degenerate. If you think about history, I mean, that's one of the reasons I like to study history, because you just realize it's always been like this, you know. It's always been people in power fighting and getting all the money and suppressing all the poor people, and it's always been like that, you know.
is that Tenzin tell me, because sometimes we talk about this.
You have to hold it really
is that
close.
it is every time it passes, it's more difficult to enlighten and go out of this, because karma is more long time in this game
Yeah.
of karma, so it's stronger.
Yeah.
So it's more difficult each time.
Yeah, I mean, we're literally lucky, you know, that we're even born in a time when the Buddhist teachings are around, because I don't know how much longer they're going to be around. I think we're at the very tail end of it, you know. I mean, the Tibet, they were able to keep it alive for 1,000 years, but even in Tibet, there's a lot of degenerate. I mean, there's some great, great yogis there, you know, like Geshe Sopa and Yangtze Rinpoche in his previous life, and, you know, but there's also a lot of degeneration.
think the other side now is more organized with the technology.
You mean the dark side?
Yes.
It is the dark side. Yeah, they've taken over the whole world now. It's not just England or India, or they've got the whole world, you know. And it's going really fast. Yeah.
Yes, it seems like the delusions are nested one on top of the other. For example, one that we could see is that money is the standard, the measure of how important a person is, and then on top of that, people could start stealing or doing. Corrupting themselves and and that's another level
Yeah.
until in societies you could visualize towers of
Yeah, that's right.
delusions and one is trying to move
Yeah.
on top of those towers, and if one tries to purify those delusions, trying to dig deep within our psyche, finding them and uprooting them, one ends up looking weird to the
That's
the
right.
rest.
That's
Our-
why you need
our
your sangha.
behaviors.
Yeah.
Yes, because a person does not exist in a vacuum. Usually, the community, we need to interact with others. So what happens if we start to look strange because we're dealing with those things and we start to...
Imagine if you have to wear these clothes. Then you look really strange. You know? No, I'm just joking. Sorry, I don't mean to make light of it.
Well,
No,
Well,
what the
what
question
can-
is, what do you do when you become so different from the rest of society? Well, I think it's important to have your sangha, because then you just have to accept that you're different. You know? Yeah.
and have clarity about why
Yeah.
we're doing it.
Yeah,
why we're
because
different.
I know in my life, you know, it's really important to me, you know, what other people think about me, right? That's kind of how we know who we are, is what other people respond back to us, you know. It was like, I was watching the thing with Sogni Rinpoche, and he said, you know, we have a social I, you know, there's a social identity. And it's very difficult when you're not accepted by your society for being different. And I know some people really like that. They like being different. They want to be different. They want to stand out. They're kind of rebellious, you know. But most people don't. You know, they want to be loved. They want to be liked. They want to be accepted. So, you know, when you start turning away and you start be different, you need a lot of strength to do that. But it's important to have some friends that understand what you're doing and support you. Otherwise, I think it's just too hard. You know? Don't you think? Even if you just have one friend, it's helpful, you know. But at least you look the same. No, how do people know you're different, really? Other than maybe you don't go to the bars anymore, right? I mean, like what? I mean, give me an example, you know? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, don't go around being a, you know, proselyte, being a preacher. It helps, you know. Just try to keep it very quiet, you know. You know, just keep it within yourself. And then try to be a good example, you know. Because I know for a lot of us, in the beginning, our parents flip out, you know. Oh, God, you know. You become a Buddhist. What's that? But as the years go by and they see you become a better person, then they think, okay, it's good. It's good, you know. But in the beginning, they're just like, oh, my goodness, you know. They've joined a cult. Yeah. But Slowly, slowly, that's why it's important to stay normal. Don't be so extreme, don't go to your parents' house and do prayers for 20 minutes before you eat your meal, or, just try to be as normal as you can and keep your Buddhism on the inside. And I think that's the best way, because then people see you're a good person, and then they want to talk to you, and then you can start to say everything. But I think it's a mistake to be extreme and turning your prayer wheel all the time and doing your beads, and then people really think you're nuts, Yeah? No, it's true. Although it depends on who you are. Like if you're really beautiful, and you dress really nice, and you turn your prayer wheel, then people come over. I know, because Roger was like that before he was ordained, and he had this big prayer wheel, and people came to him all the time, What is that? Da, da, da. And then he would be all over New York City, whatever. He's always giving teachings because he had this prayer wheel. But it was really interesting. After he got ordained and started wearing robes, nobody ever came to ask him what the prayer wheel was. Because he looked weird. Yeah. So he doesn't always wear his robes in public for that reason, because you don't want to put people off. You want to invite people in. You don't want to, so don't be extreme. Yeah.
I just wanted to make some more positive comments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, those weren't negative comments, were they?
Well, no, it was sort of getting a little dark.
Yeah.
Yesterday, this is 2 comments.
Yeah.
Yesterday, somebody played some music that some people might recognize here, Cortijo y su Combo. Okay, now this is back in the 60s and the 70s, and
Yeah.
it was social critique.
Yeah.
And I just listened to it yesterday. It just hit me. God, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
It's the same old,
It's
the
always gonna be
same
the same.
critique.
Yeah.
The other comment I wanted to make is that my sons, my friends, my family have found nothing but positive things since I started coming to
Great.
the Sangha.
Yeah.
And they actually ask a lot of questions. I don't push anything on
That's great.
anybody, but I do think that there are a lot of people out there looking for something more
That's right.
positive, and there are many that are very blind also.
Yeah.
But if you ask them, they'd really want to
Oh,
find
yeah.
this.
No, I mean, it's true. In the big picture, it looks dark, but if you look in the individual places, there's good things happening everywhere. In fact, on a positive note, I'll tell you another story. Thanks, Linda. I didn't realize we were going that way, because I don't. Yeah. Well, there is that going on, but there's a lot of light, too, But I don't know if you know who Pete Seeger is. He was a very famous folk singer, because this is kind of Spanish language place, but he just passed away recently, actually. And he was kind of one of my heroes. And one time, I think it was his 80th birthday, they had a big thing in, what's that big place in New York City where they play all the games? The Madison Square Garden. They had a big thing in Madison Square Garden, and for all these people honoring him, like Bruce Springsteen and Bonnie Raitt and Joan Baez, and everybody came to sing Pete Seeger songs. And he was there, and he sang a little bit, but there was an interview with him on the radio, and because he's always positive, and he's been fighting the dark side all his life, and he never gave up, and he did a lot of really cool things, like the Hudson River. He completely cleaned up the Hudson River just by getting a boat and singing and going up and down the river singing conservation songs. They cleaned up the money and the inspiration came to clean the pollution in the Hudson River. I mean, he did a lot of really good things. But one of the things he said at this thing that I really like, and I like to tell people this because he said it's like this, a scale. He said, those bankers, those multinational corporations, he said, they're like a great big rock, right? Boom. He said, but us, we all have a little spoonful, 1 tablespoon of positive energy. Each in our own way, bringing light into the world with our little spoons. And he said, one day, all these little people with their spoons is going to, be more powerful than the big rock with all the money, And I just love that because it just really like helps you to want to go out and continue to do good things, you know. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, let's keep going with our things here. So with compassion, encourage others to take refuge. And I think the best way to do that is to be a good example. You know, you become more happy, people want to know, and you just say, well, I go to this Dharma center, you know, and I've been learning a lot from Buddhism, and try to make it not threatening, you know. Like you don't have to stop being a Christian to study this, you know, stuff like that. Anyway, you guys know that. Then the next one is 3 times in the day and 3 times in the night take refuge. So, you know, those of us who have the 6-session Guru Yoga, we already do that. But if you don't, you know, at least in the morning you can do that one, you know, you do, I don't know how you say it in Spanish, but go for refuge, so I'm enlightened, you know, you can do that when you wake up in the morning and before you go to sleep. It's also helpful that, you know, before you eat, every time before you eat or drink, just to remember refuge, you know. And this is a very interesting one. Perform every action with complete faith and trust in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So that one I think we can work on, complete faith and trust. Because that means having more faith in ourselves, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. So I like that one. I think the Dalai Lama shows that really powerfully, doesn't he? He has complete faith, you know. Most of our lamas, you know, complete faith. I think Rabina is really good at that too. She has complete, total faith, you know. That's something we can really admire in Rabina. You know, she can't be moved in any way, you know. She's great. So, then never forsake the 3 jewels at the cost of your life, even as a joke. In other words, don't put it down, you know. So those are the commitments of taking refuge. So I used to have all this memorized. Hopefully I will again one day. Then I think that's enough. So we have 10 minutes left for any questions. If anybody has more discussion. Yeah, Gloria?
You spoke earlier on being healed, although having a terminal disease. When you meant by healing was I'm sorry. When you meant by healing was internal healing.
Yeah.
Even though you
still have the disease, you're no longer tormented by it, right? Yeah. There's no fear. Because that's the main thing I think that refuge gives you is freedom from fear. You know? I've always wondered, you know, when they talk about our delusions, ignorance, hatred, greed, pride, and jealousy, where's fear? You know, because I think we have a lot more fear than, you know. So I guess fear is like, you know, it's like if you're afraid of losing what you're attached to, or you're even afraid of getting angry. But it's interesting, you know.
Fear is just a manifestation.
Yeah.
Of whatever you think you're losing.
Yeah.
Manifest in fear, and the fear manifests in different forms.
Yeah. You wait later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like fear can manifest in extreme sadness, depression, and craziness. And it's in a different way. It's not that fear is just this one thing. It depends of your particular karma that it will manifest in that one.
Yeah.
But that's just, fear is just a general word we use for these different manifestations.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that refuge is a really great antidote to all the fears. You know? Yeah. It's like, you know, when in the old days, when the soldiers would go into battle, you know, you see it in the movies like Braveheart, you know, and the king goes back and forth, getting everybody all riled up. They're taking refuge in their king, you know, and then they don't have any more fear, and they go into battle, "Wah!" you know. But you always see that, you know, in the movies. They, you know, huh? Yeah. No, but they don't. They don't have their fear, and they lose their fear, you know. Yeah, yeah. But I'm just meaning that, like, we need that, like the Buddha gives us that fearlessness, you know. Yeah, not insane fearlessness. Anybody else? So quiet today. Yesterday we had so much. Yeah, it can be anything. It doesn't have to be on refuge.
Yeah, you have mentioned several times before you go to bed, besides doing taking refuge or thinking of your guru, do you do some mantras or?
Yeah, you can use a mantra.
Okay.
Yeah, you can, if you have a particular deity, it's very good to go to sleep with your head in the lap of that deity, or your head in the lap of the guru and think the guru, or there's many ways to do it. You can see yourself as the deity, and you're putting your head in the lap of the guru, and say the mantra before you go to sleep, you know. That's generally what you do. But, or maybe you don't have an empowerment, or you can also, like I was telling Jose, you can put your head in the lap of Medicine Buddha before you go to sleep at night, and say the Medicine Buddha mantras as you go to sleep. Or Chenrezig and say Om Mani Padme Hum, you know. And then you know, but the feeling of refuge, you can't just kind of say the mantra like a parrot. It has to have some feeling of refuge with it. Yeah. And then the first thing in the morning, when you wake up, that's the first thing. You should think again and think of the guru, you know, and you imagine the guru then comes into the crown of your head and dissolves into your heart, and you feel safe and protected throughout the day, you know. Yeah.
There's a better time of the day or the night or at dawn in order to make a good meditation, like your mind is more clear, like at 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock, that you can get the benefits and you can do like, whoops, this instead of just being like.
Yeah, no, first thing in the morning is the best time to meditate. Whenever you wake up, you know, I mean, you can't, I personally think that you need to get as much sleep as you need, you know. I mean, great people, great Buddhas like Lama Zopa Rinpoche, you know, they don't need to sleep so much. But, you know, we have a lot of stress in our life. And so I encourage people to sleep as long as you need. But first thing in the morning, do your practice. You know, and then if you can at night, it's good to meditate again. Even if it's just lying in bed. You know, if you're too tired to sit up, at least, you know, before you go to sleep, do the breathing, do some kind of refuge, whatever you're working on. That's the best, you know. And I mean, when I first started in the Dharma, I still had a job, you know. And you get an hour lunch. I would walk to the park, eat my lunch, and I didn't, you know, meditate like that, but I would, because I didn't want to, like we were saying before, I didn't want to show off. But I would just sit in the park and meditate for a half hour, 20 minutes before going back to work. Or one time I had a job, I was telling Anna, I think, I had a job in the children's hospital. And on my lunch break, I would go to the chapel and do Yamataka practice for all the children in the hospital, you know. So you can find times, you know. And sometimes it's good, too, if you don't have a family, that when you come home from work, take a little nap. And then get up and meditate before you have dinner, if you're not, or have a little snack first, you know. Take a rest, then get up, meditate, then cook dinner and have the rest of your time. Because if you just go home, rush, cook it, eat, blah, blah, you know, you're done. So I know a lot of people who have full-time jobs, but when they come home from work, they rest a little while, they do a little meditation, then they have dinner, you know. Maybe even a glass of wine, help you a little relax a little bit. Not for everyone, but it just depends on, you know, who you are, what you can do, and what your vows are. So I think, you know, the main thing we need to do is stay relaxed. take care of our bodies so we can be relaxed, eat good food. You're asking, it's really important to eat good food. And, find out if you have food allergies or not. Because if you have a strong body, then it's much easier to meditate. Yeah.
I realize that whenever I eat,
It's not on.
that I eat something with sugar,
Yeah.
I will get rashes in my body
Yeah.
that I didn't have before.
Yeah.
So it's something that you always need to be
Aware.
aware of the changes in your body, because sometimes you keep doing what you used to did before, and then all of a sudden you're sick.
Yeah. I think it's better not to eat sugar at all myself. If you can avoid sugar, it really helps your mind, because sugar makes you go up and it makes you go down and it's. I heard that when they first started, making sugar or discovering sugar, the British qualified it as a drug, and it was restricted to use, Yeah, but then they realized they could make a lot of money on it, and then, and they took over all these islands and started growing sugarcane and making rum and sugar and making tons of money. But in the beginning, sugar was like cocaine. They classified it the same, So, but it's so hard, particularly children. They just love it, Yeah, but you can learn to make desserts sweetened with other things, not sugar. You can sweeten with honey, agave. Nowadays you can get, they call this stuff evaporated cane juice. It's still from the cane tree, but it's not refined sugar. Stevia, I think that sugar is really an enemy to a meditator. That's my view. I'm not saying you have to stop eating sugar, but try it. And refined flours too, Yes, it feeds cancer. Yes, yeah.
When they make a CT scan,
Wait, you need to.
they put into you sugar, so they can have the photograph of all the
Yeah,
places it is.
yeah. Oh, she just said that. She said that sugar is the food of tumors. So it makes cancer grow, and that when they want to see where your cancer is, they give you sugar, because that's what makes the cancer light up, and get happy. So everyone feel okay about refuge? I hope this was somewhat beneficial, and I know that a lot of times people go, "Oh, refuge, we know all about that. Why do we have to do that?" But I think you can never get enough of refuge, because it's so important, like death and impermanence, you need it at the beginning, the middle, the end. Yasmin.
Strong, pure refuge. It's like
Wait, I think it's off.
It's on. It's like establishes. It's like a bridge between your guru and your inner Buddha nature.
Yeah, she said it's a bridge between your
Yeah.
guru and your own inner nature, your own Buddha nature. It's true. And it's what builds your own confidence, your own Buddha nature, your own, refuge is really important.
Yes, because when you sing, sometimes happens to me sometimes when
But
I
you have to
sing,
make a,
when I still I feel like, oh, that connection is like a little getting farther away. It happens sometimes.
yeah.
I can feel that it's like so. In that moment, it's like feeling that hollow, that emptiness feeling between your inner and your body. That space, you can feel that space.
Yeah. So, and it's really important to remember the qualities and the kindness of the guru, because then you want to take refuge, and that's how you develop them in yourself. So you kind of can't separate refuge from the meditation on guru devotion. They're really together, I mean, it all comes together. Actually, it's all together. You can't take refuge without thinking about suffering or karma or bodhicitta. It's all kind of under one big umbrella. So I think we should dedicate the merits. And thank you for your patience and for coming. And we'll see some of you tomorrow night, maybe. But if you can't go to the Naga Puja, some people are going to learn, and then you can make it a regular kind of fun thing. You know, it's fun. If you want to have activities that keeps your Sangha more doing things together, you can, you know, once a month go to the beach and do a Naga Puja and have a picnic. It's a fun thing to do, you know. And quite often you see signs in the sky, too. So it's kind of, pay attention, look at the clouds when you're doing the Naga Puja, because you'll see things. Yeah. Okay, so let's dedicate.
Okay, hacemos la dedicación. Que por los méritos de esta virtud pueda alcanzar rápidamente el estado de un Guru Buda y pueda llevar a este estado a todo ser sin excepción. La mente de iluminación es suprema y muy preciada, que donde no ha surgido surja, que donde ha surgido no disminuya, que cobre cada vez más fuerza. La visión correcta del vacío es suprema y muy preciada, que donde no ha surgido surja, que donde ha surgido no disminuya, que cobre cada vez más fuerza. Así como el valiente Manjushri Samantavadra distinguieron los fenómenos tal cual son, yo también dedico estos méritos en la mejor forma, siguiendo su ejemplo perfecto. Dedico todas estas raíces de virtud con la dedicación que es considerada la mejor, por los victoriosos asidos de los 3 tiempos, para poder realizar todas las buenas obras. Madre Tare, liberando del samsara. Tu Tare, liberando de los 8 temores. Tara, Madre que libera, por favor otorga el don de la longevidad, por las bendiciones de los gurús raíz y del linaje, por los logros espirituales de los yidam, dioses y diosas, por los métodos hábiles de las dakinis y los protectores del Dharma, que podamos realizar gozosamente la esencia de nuestras esperanzas. Que en Dun Tenzin, eres afable, benevolente y bondadoso. Por favor, permanece con nosotros durante una larga vida. Expande tus actividades iluminadas en todas las direcciones y continúa madurando y sustentándonos a mí y a todos los seres sintientes. Desde este momento y durante todas nuestras vidas, manténnos bajo tu tutela. Sé nuestro amigo, nuestro divino y virtuoso guía. Limpia la degeneración de la ignorancia. Ayúdanos a realizar rápidamente nuestro recorrido por los senderos y caminos y alcanzar los 3 cuerpos de un Buda, por la verdad de la realidad incambiable y por la bendición conjunta de la indestructible Sangha, que la esencia de estas oraciones se logre rápidamente.
So then we remember, you know, dedicate the eye, you know, empty from its own side, dedicating enlightenment for all sentient beings which are empty from their own side. So all the merits of today and all of our lives, arising independence, the dedication is dependent on the merit, the act of dedicating, and what we're dedicating to enlightenment. So remembering that the I doesn't exist truly from its own side. Enlightenment doesn't exist truly from its own side. Sentient beings don't exist truly from their own side. However, they still appear, and they still suffer, and there's still a path to follow. Understanding that the 2 truths exist in the same space, you know? Like a gold coin, you know? A coin is in the nature of gold, but it's also a coin. So everything we experience has its own, you know, identity, its own function. But still, if you try to find its true existence, it is empty from its own side. Therefore, everything is pervaded by emptiness. Yet still, it functions. Still, it's there, you know. So dedicating for the flourishing of positive energy throughout the universe, particularly the Buddha Dharma. Making the world a better place, not just this planet, but all the planets, all the universes, all the types of sentient beings. Imagining they all one day achieve enlightenment. We dedicate to this. rejoicing how wonderful it is that we are able to be together and study these teachings together and have these teachers and this place and everything, how wonderful it is. Being great rejoicing, a lot of gratefulness in our hearts. Okay, thank you so much. Have a nice evening, good sleep, good meditation, good food, good friends.